Now, next, what I would like to do is welcome a client that is on the forefront of the healthcare innovation. Tiago Cares and Michael Prewada began a company called Bionik Labs. They have an inspirational story to share about the formation of their company and their journey to apply technology to transform the healthcare industry and improve patient care, in particular for patients with restricted mobility. But before we meet them, let's take a look at what they're doing.
You see a person in a wheelchair, and you know you have the skills to aid that person. Why not innovate as quick as possible and allow that person to get up and walk?
When I met Michael and Tiago, I saw two young guys that had good engineering and technology skills and a vision of a company they wanted to create.
With the story of some high-tech help for amputees, Maria.
That's right, Nick. A major advancement in the world of prosthetic limbs.
They've developed an incredible exoskeleton to help disabled patients.
They're also working on a device that would help paraplegics stand and walk.
Bionik's core focus is creating robotic technology to aid mobility impairments.
When we first started Bionik, there was very little technology in the rehabilitation space.
Bionik's core and initial product is the ARKE exoskeleton.
ARKE uses a series of devices and components inside the product to understand when the person wants to take a step or rehabilitate, and we provide that step to them.
What Bionik brings to the market is a lot of creativity in the way we approach our design.
I'm responsible for the ergonomics, human interface, form, and the overall user experience part of the device. When the device is used, it needs to perfectly match with the human side of the user, as if the device becomes part of you.
We've looked at every possible scenario of how the body moves, understood it, and translated that into an engineering process. Now we have the capability of using robotics to get people up and walking.
What we're doing is we're augmenting. The person that lost that ability to walk, they need that extension, and we develop that extension for them.
Also, we have developed relationships with other companies, and a good example is the relationship that we are developing with IBM, which is a critical part of our business. We expect to do online analytics of the data through the cloud, which I believe is going to differentiate us from our competitors.
There are over 70 million people on this planet who have some form of mobility impairment. With technology and the skills we have, we believe we can solve many of those issues.
There's a very, very significant opportunity for robotic technologies to impact this market and improve people's quality of life.
With the exponential growth of technology, science has been completely revolutionized, and we can't even comprehend what is to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, IBM, for inviting us to this fantastic event. We'd like to start off today by just telling you a bit about our background and how we got started. We got some silly photos here from the past. We actually met back in 2009 in university in actually Canada's first biomedical engineering program. It was the first biomedical engineering program that was standalone of its kind. And we both had the same passion for creating medical devices and a passion for innovation. And we took it upon ourselves to develop something that was very ambitious, and we succeeded. We developed the world's first brain control interface for external devices, and specifically targeted at prosthetic devices. We created an interface that would understand your thoughts, send it wirelessly to a computer system, and then through our algorithms that we developed, would translate that into motion. So as you thought about doing something, you would be able to do it on a robotic device. Now, as you saw on the video, the company has progressed significantly since that point. The way we started, and you can see on that image there, we enjoyed winning a lot of competitions, and we went to many competitions worldwide, and we won those competitions, and using the funds from those, we were able to start the company.
Bionik is trying to address a huge problem. There are over 70 million people that suffer some sort of mobility impairment. Those 70 million people, a large percentage of those people, rely on the wheelchair to move around. The wheelchair is a device, an old device that was created 1,500 years ago. 1,500 years ago, the wheelchair is the latest technology you can get to help people with mobility impairments. If today you sustain a spinal cord injury, you get fit in the wheelchair, you're probably going to sit in the wheelchair for the rest of your life. There's got to be something we can do to solve that problem.
So one of the solutions that we've created at Bionik is the ARKE. ARKE is an exoskeleton technology that allows a person who's in a wheelchair to stand up and walk. It picks up information from your body, and based on your intention to walk or stand up or do what you need to do throughout the day, it allows you to do that. Now, this device targets spinal cord injury, stroke, spina bifida, brain injury, a whole range of indications that put you in a wheelchair. And just standing up and walking is just the tip of the iceberg. It actually allows you to rehabilitate more effectively. And when you're rehabilitating more effectively, we can actually reduce healthcare costs by up to 70%. I'd like to read a statement to you from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. They mentioned that by developing therapies for those who are already spinal cord injured and preventing new injuries, the United States would save as much as $400 billion on future direct and indirect lifetime costs. $400 billion is a very large number, but that is just for spinal cord injury. And spinal cord injury is just a tenth of the size of stroke. So you can see technologies that we're developing can significantly reduce healthcare costs. Now, to reduce those costs even further and improve therapy significantly, we have to change the way we look at data. Currently, what we're doing is we're taking information, or therapists and doctors are taking information from patients. They're looking at standard scales, they're writing them down. There are surveys that are filled out, and all that information is put into a patient file. That patient file then goes into the patient file storage area, and then those patient files, as they stack up and you have more and more of them, they end up in a box. And those boxes add up and they get sent to a medical file storage facility. And I can assure you, those boxes are not communicating with each other. So, and probably as your CEO, Jenny, would put it, we need to find that needle in the haystack.
And for us at Bionik, that didn't make any sense, because the way we're looking at data today with the files and storing the files in boxes, we can do so much better. For example, it's much easier for us to get data out of our medical devices today. If you want to download all the data from a medical device today, all you have to do is plug it into the internet, and you can get all the data. But we are not using that today. But plugging in the device to the internet, saving and storing the data, is not an easy task. And we had the challenge. It's actually a big challenge, and that's where comes IBM. When we first started working with IBM, really everything started with the IBM Big Data University, which allows small companies to access talent, innovation, and big quality software, which was once only available to big multinational companies and not available to a company like Bionik. We started working on our first project, and I have a diagram to show data flow of the project. It's a simple project, but very complex. The project starts with the exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is a rehabilitation product. So we have a lot of sensors in the device. The paraplegic would wear this product. And even as the paraplegic is taking steps, doing a rehabilitation session, we can save the amount of data. For example, how many steps are taken, like the Fitbit. We can send that data to a tablet. We're using the iPad tablet interface to record that data. Once the data is recorded, it goes to the cloud, where you can perform a lot of analysis and analytics. We get results from that analysis, and we output those results to the doctor. So what that allows us to do is to output results and real data to the tablet that the doctor is using to control the device. And if you look at this technology, it really can be used for anything. Storing and saving and analyzing the data can be used for any type of technology. But using this technology to the exoskeleton allows us to, number one, improve results by improving, number two, therapy, and together we can improve the lives of millions of people. Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Outstanding. You know, what's really good to see is, you know, the IBM team really helping with the level of innovation that you bring and really allowing you to focus in on the expertise that you have. But first of all, I really want to thank you for being an IBM client. We really, really appreciate it. Now, in partnership with IBM, you developed the cloud-based data collection system for ARKE that runs on IBM Bluemix cloud, and it allows the exoskeleton to adapt and learn in real time. You know, you could have worked with a lot of companies. Why did you choose IBM?
Well, first of all, we found that IBM are the leaders, right? Of course, and and we also figured that if we began developing that ourselves today, we would have to stop our core business, what we're doing, and spend probably the next 100 years to get to where IBM is today with cloud computing and analytics. And then maybe we'd be where we need to be.
And we tried. We tried at the very first, we tried developing our own database collection algorithms to pick up the information, get averages and simple mathematical equations that we can get some results. But the work that has been done in Watson and through oncology and all of that is exactly what we needed. And especially the Bluemix allow us to program and change the program the way we want it to. So it's really customizable.
Right, so you really get to use the platform to full power that allows you to innovate, you know, at a speed that, you know, is just going to change the healthcare industry, which is outstanding.
Exactly.
Now, as we go to the cloud and we think about Internet of Things and all these different devices that are being connected, data is becoming the key differentiator, right? We really see that. Now, in the confluence of all the technologies that Bionik has seemed to capture, you know, bringing new opportunities for firms that have a huge impact on the world and on humanity. How did you know early on that you needed a cloud solution, and how did working with IBM help you?
I think very early on when we started doing clinical trials for the product that we demonstrated, the doctors needed a lot of information. And for example, let's talk about pain. When someone is using the product and they feel pain, hurts somewhere, they have to make a check mark of the pain level and where the pain is. And everything is done by paper. So they'll ask you a question, is your pain level 7 or 10 on your knee? And you'd say 7. So what's a 7 for you, and what's a 7 for me? And it's the device, it doesn't really understand that 7. It wants to know exactly what's the data that's output from the knee, and that has to be digital. It has to be repeatable. So early on when we started working the device, we realized we need sensors to capture the data, and not just a verbal communication, I feel 7 on my knee. We have to measure that. And using cloud is the best way to measure, save, and capture that data.
Also, just to add to that, back when we first started with the brain control interface technology, our biggest challenge was actually the computing power necessary to process all that information. And at that time, IBM Cloud was not available. We had to create our own infrastructure, which didn't really make any sense. And that technology is viable now. It wasn't then. Now it's really viable.
Yeah, and it really helps you. You take the money that you get from all of your investors and invest it on, you know, the innovation of Bionik rather than investing on all of the infrastructure that you need,
Yeah.
which is great. So if I kind of think about the partnership, what are the benefits of the partnership with IBM from your perspective?
I think one of the benefits, it's using the type of software we're using today, and even access to the people. A lot of people are very interested in the project from IBM, and they help us develop the platform on Bluemix, and even other things that are very interesting in also making the device more basically a data-driven product, and not just an engineering-driven product. If you look at the mechanical device, a lot of times you think, you know, the exoskeleton, the best thing out of the product is getting the person up and walking, and yes, that's a huge benefit, but it's not. The data that we're getting out of it, we can use that to further improve rehabilitation outcomes. I think that's the key.
For example, we can pick up information from all the joints and understand that the person who's paralyzed is actually regaining some strength. We can pick that up. And based on the therapy that we're providing the patient and the analysis of previous patients, we can push them further to regain even more motion and then understand that the person is getting better based on the outcomes from the sensors.
Outstanding. Now, we all know that innovation, it's a continual process, right? We're always innovating. You've done some great things, and you're on a roll, and you know how to innovate. What's coming next? Where do you see the company, and where do you see the industry going?
Well, I think the industry, in a general sense, is going to be very data-driven. Even what we're developing is very universal. You can see it being applied to, let's pick something, an MRI machine. You get millions of people using it every single day. You get all the information. Oncologists are analyzing and inputting information. Eventually, you get to a point where you have all this information being processed with past information, future information being generated, and then you can pinpoint exactly where a tumor is before it becomes a problem. And the system will tell you that it's there.
And I think it is a big shift because even when we started developing our product, yes, you have to put a lot of effort in engineering and really make the best engineering product you can make, which is what we try to do, and we watch what we've done. But the difference is now the focus in what type of data can I get out of the product. Is the person walking 100 steps per week, walking 100 steps per hour? That data is more important than the product itself because that will lead into further development. And I think that's how the industry is changing. Not focusing on just making the best engineering product ever, but make a good engineering product, a good engineered product, and then focus on how much data can collect out of it, adding sensors to the product.
And I just have to add, we're absolutely amazed. We're stunned that a company as young as ours is able to work with IBM. I mean, before we had no idea. We would see, IBM partnership with Barclays and large banks and doing this and that, which most people didn't even understand. And here's us developing things with IBM directly.
Well, it's outstanding to hear. And that's part of our transformation because innovation is going to come from large companies, small companies. It's going to come from all over the world. And I can tell you right now, you've got 500 IBMers and their guests that are rooting for you, and we will help you any way we can. So listen, Tiago and Michael, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Outstanding job, guys. Outstanding. Okay, thank you.